Test, test. Are we on? Okay, welcome. We're here in honor of Earth Day. And as Pastor Inger pointed out to us this morning, all humanity came from the earth. And even to this very day, we owe our daily bread to the earth. So I want to introduce to you our guest for today is Ashley Gallagher, a resource conservationist with the Dakota Soil and Water Conservation District. And just a brief background, soil and water conservation districts started in the 1930s as a result of the Dust Bowl. They were originally called soil conservation districts. Now most of them are called soil and water conservation districts because of the realization that soil and water go together. The role of a soil and water conservation district has also expanded. Starting in the 30s, of course, they were concerned with wind erosion. And now they are concerned with conservation of all of the resources that are attached to the soil. The water, the wildlife, the forests, etc. So, let me just introduce to you Ashley, who has been with the Dakota Soil and Water Conservation District for 10 years, and she is a golden gopher. Ashley Gallagher.
Thanks, Gordon. You didn't mention you have some history in this world, too, I believe, working for Soil and Water. Yes, I am a golden gopher, been with Dakota for 10 years. I served in some other counties before that, but I grew up in Dakota County. I'm from Rosemount, actually. Live here in Dundas now with my family. But I also worked down in Iowa for a soil and water conservation district down there for a few years. So my talk today is a little bit about districts and what we do and all of our work. But I thought you guys might want to hear a bit about me too. So I'll try and incorporate a bit about me and my work, and they're all intricately connected. So about me, yeah. Some of you know my kiddos. But that's my husband, Marty, and then I have two girls, Claire and Cecilia, and I tried to put some photos up here of us just out enjoying nature and water. So I love soil and water, but water is the big connection that led me to this job. So we like to go to the North Shore a lot and go hiking there. We do a lot of camping as well. My daughter Claire said that her happy place is our camper, so I think that's a good thing. And we don't tend to camp anymore. That's just not on the docket. So that's a bit about me. And then soil and water. Actually, what do we do? So Gordon covered a bit on this already, but how we started, you can see the Dust Bowl days. There's even stories about as legislation's being written in Washington, D.C., there's dust coming in from the Great Plains that's falling on the paper as they sign it. How much truth there is to that, I don't know, but it's a good story. So, that's what got soil conservation districts started. You can see, the 1940s, Dakota was 1944, so our organization has been around for a long time. We are grassroots conservation. We're a special purpose unit of government. We are governed by a 5-member elected board. This part of the Dakota County, you would be represented by Jane Hager-D, and they serve 4-year terms typically. We do look at local conservation priorities. We have no land use authority, so that means we don't do planning and zoning. In Dakota County, it's actually the townships and the cities that have that planning and zoning authority. And then we actually don't even have taxing authority either. So we operate off of working with our county for some county budgeting, and then also a lot of grants. We work with the state and federal level to bring in grants so that we can then pass those dollars out the door to farmers and landowners that are actually doing projects. So today, a lot of our work looks like this in a meeting room, but that's part of it. And I kind of hinted at this, but we work with landowners to help them manage and protect their land and water resources. So soil and waters are often referred to as the boots on the ground people. We work with people who own land and help them manage what they have. And we like to get out of the office. So a few quick facts about Dakota County. This doesn't show up super well. I thought you might be interested in what kind of land use we have in Dakota County, and some of you might be quite familiar with this already, but we have a huge developed area, but then all this yellowish area is still agriculture. So Dakota County is a large county, but we have a lot of ag left. And then you can see we have forest and shrubland. Forests are the green. Some shrublands and grasslands are kind of those orangey brown colors. So we have some natural areas still in the county, and we are working to connect those natural areas. So that's one thing that helps wildlife, is connecting all those natural areas through the ag areas too. So we are a very diverse office. We have to work with urban landscapes and rural landscapes. A lot of my work also ties to groundwater. So we've soil and water, so not just surface water, but also the water that's under the ground. And this is a map of groundwater susceptibility in Dakota County. So a lot of our soils are very sandy soils. So that means that water moves really quickly through those soils. So everything in red reaches groundwater within hours to months. So we think that our groundwater is very ancient. But in Dakota County, with the type of soils that we have, everything moves very quickly. And then the non-red areas, so like Greenville and Eureka Township areas, those are a little bit heavier. Some people call them Frogtown, because that's where we have a lot of wetlands, and the soils there are more clay-based soils. So the water moves a lot slower in that area to groundwater. And another fact about our county is we have multiple different watersheds in our county. So we also have the organizations that go with those different watersheds. And you can see here we're in Cannon River Watershed right now, but Vermilion River Watershed is another big part of our county. And then towards the north, those drainage areas all go towards the Minnesota River and the Mississippi River. And everything starts with a plan. We do a lot of planning in our office. Comprehensive plans, watershed plans. I just mentioned watersheds. Watersheds, do we know what those are? Okay, watershed is an area of land that all drains to one water body. So the Cannon River watershed, if a raindrop falls on the land somewhere, it eventually makes its way to the Cannon River, and that's the Cannon River watershed. You can have a lake shed too, but it's just an area of land that drains to a certain water body. So we do watershed planning, and we also do county water plans too. So a lot of plans help us direct the work that we do. In education, so there's nothing that's too big or too small for us. We do a lot of individual landowner meetings. That's probably the way that we get most of our work done, is actually getting in a truck and heading out to a farm or somebody's house and talking about what they have and what they would like some assistance with. We also do larger audiences too, and things like this. So when I say boots on the ground, that's the technical assistance side of what we do. We do a lot of project design and construction oversight. This is kind of an older picture at this point. I don't know if anybody knows survey equipment, but that survey equipment's getting a little outdated. And then we also provide financial incentives, so working with landowners to implement a project. So those are kind of the two big pillars, is technical assistance and financial assistance. So this is an example of where we provided both technical and financial assistance. Before, you can see the water running through the field and taking some soil with it, and then it would make its way eventually to one of our rivers. And too much soil in a river is not good for the biology and wildlife that live in that river. So when we install a project, the after photo would be called a grassed waterway, and that grass helps hold the soil in place but allows the water to move, and then you don't have soil going with it to the river. So it improves your soil and your water with one project. Some of the programs that we have wetland programs. Somebody could probably do a talk on wetlands for like an hour. I'm not that person. But there's a whole regulatory side of wetlands as well. But people can voluntarily restore wetlands. And like I said, we do have, even though we have sandy soils in a decent part of our county, there's a lot of areas of Dakota County that could be restored for wetlands. And a decent amount of them have gone in over the years. So somebody might try and farm an area for a while, and then it just is not profitable because the soils are not very conducive, and then we can help get that field into a program and help with the technical assistance and the financial side of it to restore that to a wetland. One example, if you're heading north on Highway 3, Castle Rock, right by the bar there on the south side, there's a big wetland restoration there. I don't know if anybody's seen that one before, but it's very shallow, so sometimes it dries up, but it has that fluctuations of water, and that's actually good for wildlife. And on my drive to work, since our office is in Farmington, I typically see a lot of birds out there, which is great. So wetlands is one thing that we do. We have native prairie programs as well. We've had these for a while, so we can kind of do different scales of restoration for prairie too. There's programs that can convert whole fields to a native prairie, or if somebody just has a small acreage where they'd want to do just one little area, convert turf grass to native prairie, that's possible through our office as well, and we'll help with the seed mix, and we'll help with the financial side to get that done. And people say the technical assistance is what's really valuable too, because we can walk you through the process of doing that. So our native prairie program has been quite popular in the last handful of years, especially on those acreage areas. And why we want native prairie is for quite a few different reasons. I mean, we get the water quality benefit. Native prairie plants have those deep roots, if people are familiar with that. So the deep prairie roots help hold the soil in place, and then they help filter the water as well. But prairies also have tons of wildlife benefits too. So pollinators, we hear about the monarch butterfly and the rusty patch bumblebee, and all of those need native prairie plants in order to thrive. Some other programs, buffers and stream banks, another good before and after photo. In the before, you can see that we're losing soil, not a good scenario. But once we maybe grade that area and establish some vegetation, that vegetation is holding that soil in place, and it is all around healthier for the ecosystem. Buffers could be a whole nother talk for an hour as well. There's some regulatory sides of that. And then there's also the voluntary side. And I should emphasize that our office is purely the voluntary side. So people can come to us and voluntarily sign up for these. But buffers, I'm losing track of my timelines. Was it 4 or 5 years? Does anybody hear about the buffer law a few years ago? So there was a time frame where we actively made sure that every stream had at least a 50-foot buffer on it to prevent any runoff reaching the stream. Yep. Yeah. Yep. We were suddenly the people. Yes, the question was about how did that process happen with the buffer law, and what were soil and water offices suddenly the people that had to do that, and that is kind of how it happened. Every county is a bit different too. I should emphasize that every county typically has their own soil and water office with their own board. So there are some differences between counties, and in Dakota County there was a local ordinance that helped us along with this. So the local ordinance enforcement made it easier for us because we already had a lot of buffers in place. But there are some counties around the state that didn't have a local ordinance, and so when the state buffer law came around, it was a big task, and everybody's still working on stuff. So, yes. Yeah, I think soil and water is boots on the ground, and people see us, as they're coming up with new ideas. They're like, soil and water can do that, and yes, we typically can do that. What else with our rural lands? This is pretty hard to see, but if we have, there's a few different types of erosion that can occur. One is sheet and rill, where you just kind of have like surface runoff, and it's taking little particles of soil with it as it goes. Another type is gully erosion, so it actually, you can see that gully in a field. And there's different solutions to those types of erosion. This is an example of how to fix gully erosion. So if there was, that soil washing away and you could see that gully, super hard to see, but these little strips right here are called water and sediment control basins. And then there's a little tiny orange dot, and that's intake is what we call it. So as the water is coming down the hill, it hits that berm, so it's like built up in the field, and then the water pools there temporarily and slowly draws down into an underground pipe. And you can do a series of those berms, and then that stops the gully erosion. So that's one fix that we do, is water and sediment control basins, or WASCOBs, because you like to use acronyms for everything in government. Also in our rural lands conservation, we talk a lot about the health of the soil. That's something I'm pretty passionate about, is healthy soils. So we talk about soil in a few different ways, but there's chemical properties of soil, there's physical properties of soil, like is it a sand or a silt or a clay, and then there's the biology of the soil. And for years we've forgotten about the biology of the soil, but it's all three of those things together that make a healthy soil. And so something to encourage biology in a soil is keeping more living plants on that field throughout the year. So cover crops is a big one. Anybody heard of cover crops? I know Lee and I were just chatting cover crops. Yep. So that's something we can help folks with, is seeding a cover crop. So after the primary crop comes off of a field, you would seed a cover crop to maybe scavenge some nutrients out of the soil and hold them. Also hold that soil in place so you're not losing the soil to water erosion or wind erosion. Wind erosion hasn't gone away. We still get it. So cover crops is one thing that we work on, and that's tied to our soil health programs. Also with soil health, we can help folks reduce tillage, and that helps build healthy soils too. Yep. Yep, so the question is about regenerative farming. Is this concept considered regenerative? Yes, so it's kind of all what term do you use for it, and it's as long as we're building our soils and not depleting them, I would consider that regenerative. So, yep. Switching gears to some of the urban work that we do. This is a larger scale project, and it's called an Iron Enhanced Sand Filter, so IESF, if you need another acronym. And we're directing stormwater into this area that will eventually be more vegetated. The plants are just very little right now, but this is the iron enhanced part of it right here. So there's an area of soil that has iron filings, and that actually precipitates, or it makes the phosphorus fall out of the water. So when the stormwater comes in, it might have high phosphorus or nutrient levels, but as it goes through this and leaves this stormwater practice, it will have a lower phosphorus level. So when it reaches the local lake, we're not adding extra nutrients to that lake. So this is an example of kind of a larger scale urban project. Questions about that one at all? Yep. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yep. We're an office of 11. And yes, we don't say we're like an urban conservationist or a rural conservationist. We try and all focus and have some knowledge on all these practices, but we do have staff that kind of specialize in certain areas. So like I said, soil health is one area where I focus in a little bit more. Urban is where some of my other staff focus in a little bit more. But yes, this doesn't happen over 1 year. This happens over years of planning and prioritizing. No. And some across the state, it varies a lot too. So soil and water offices might only have 2 staff, depending upon what kind of county you're in and what your land use is. So yes, it varies a lot. Good question. Oh, yep. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. So I should say we're not doing the construction. So yes, the landowner is responsible for hiring a contractor. So we will do construction oversight. So we'll be out there surveying and making sure that the project is installed to what we've designed that project to be. But the landowner is hiring a contractor to do the work. That probably clears things up a lot. Yes. So the question is about the landowner and grants and funding, and yes, they're typically coming to our office for the the design of the practice, but then we are also providing like they'll enter into a contract with our office, and like 85% of that project would be covered by grants typically, and then they pay the remaining portion. Mm-hmm. For stormwater practices, I'd say it's been around at least 11 years. The question, by the way, was about the iron filings and how long has that been around. So yeah, I would want to say at least 10 years, maybe even longer. And they work. We have water quality monitoring data on inflows and outflows to show that there's a reduction in phosphorus. Yep. So the iron filings, yes, they will last for a while. At some point, we're going to reach a point where, it might not be doing its job as much anymore. So we might have to go in to these projects and, pull out the material that's there and add new sand and iron filings so that it continues to do its job. So that's why we do monitoring on practices. We don't monitor everything, but we can kind of gauge how the lifespan of a project is. Yeah. Good questions. A few more urban projects. We work small scale on urban projects too. So rain gardens. Anybody have a rain garden by any chance? Yay! A rain garden is just a small little depression in your yard that takes the runoff from your roof or your driveway. And lets that water soak into the ground. So instead of that water running across your lawn or across the driveway and it picks up pollutants on the way and goes to the storm drain, a rain garden helps that water soak in and filter it. So we have full-scale program called Landscaping for Clean Water in our office, and people can take that. It's an intro class, and then we have a design course. And after the design course, you have a plan to either do a rain garden, a native planting, or a shoreline planting. And then we also give you $250 for doing a project. So people have said the financial assistance helps, but they also just like somebody telling them, what the process of doing a rain garden. So even had somebody, they said, because we do check-ins along the way, and somebody said, I have a bathroom that I'm trying to remodel and I just can't seem to get it done. Can you just, do some check-ins with me on that project too? I think that's a little out of our wheelhouse, but and then I've mentioned water monitoring too. We have different water monitoring programs, so depending upon what the watershed needs, we kind of tailor our water monitoring to that watershed. So in the northern part of the county, we do have some lakes that are monitored. We use volunteers for this work too, but we do have a staff in our office who manages all of the water monitoring. So yes, lakes in the north. Most of our streams have some sort of monitoring done on them as well. And we didn't have any rain for a long time, so there was no runoff monitoring, but Lindsay, our water monitoring staff, was busy last week when we did get rain. So she does regular routine monitoring, and then anytime there's a big rain event, she's out capturing runoff monitoring too. So this is a picture of some of us in a stream. I think we're doing flow monitoring in this picture, so assessing the flow and the amount of sediment that would be coming with that flow. Flood repairs, question mark. So we have been getting a lot of bigger events. Extreme weather events are coming with our changing climate. So we have seen a lot of intense events. We get, 7 inches of rain in a very short amount of time, and that causes a lot of damage. So this is not unusual anymore, but it is very hard to repair all of these projects. And this is one example. I think this is from the 2012 event, kind of by Trout Brook area. Does anybody know where that is? Meesville Ravine Park, okay, yep. So we have, massive loss of soil from one rain event, and that took a big fix to repair that one. So, it's not a complex fix, but it does take a decent amount of engineering and dirt work, and then getting vegetation established there again. So who knows, maybe with changing climates, we'll have a whole program just related to flood repairs. And all this work, you asked how we get it done. It's partnerships. So we can't do it all ourselves. We have common goals with a lot of our partners. There's the federal agency called Natural Resources Conservation Service, and they have staff in most counties as well. So when we work with our federal partners, we have access to funding through them too, and some of their technical abilities. We partner the most probably with states recently. So the state of Minnesota. Anybody heard of the Board of Water and Soil Resources? We call them Bowser, in case you needed another acronym. So Bowser is who we work with to get the majority of our funds. So they come from Bowser to our office, and then we get those funds out the door for landowners. And then our county, we have very good county support in Dakota County. Not every county is very well supported from their county, and since we don't have taxing authority, these partnerships are pretty important to get funding to do projects. And then in Dakota County, we also have those watershed management organizations that I showed you, and we can get some funding through them to do programming. So that Landscaping for Clean Water program that I referenced about the urban projects, each of our watersheds contributes a certain amount of money for that program, and that's how we make that happen. Cities and townships are key, and then also nonprofit organizations, and then just people. If people did not want to do projects, then we would have no projects. So it takes somebody wanting to do something in order for us to have a project in the end. And my kiddos just walked in too, but I thought I would end with, you can't really see the writing on here, but at daycare, they asked the kiddos, why do we want to keep the earth clean? And my daughter said, so the water can be clean. So my kids do listen to me. And some of the other answers on here are to be healthy, so we can be healthy, because it's beautiful, so people can live on it, because we want to be clean, and pick up trash. So I thought this was a good way to end my talk, because the work I do, I'm inspired by my kids, and leaving this place a better place for our future generations. So they have more answers than we do, I think, sometimes. But questions for me? That's all I have. We'll go back. Yeah, so wildlife corridors, kind of, we have those pockets of natural areas, and how do we connect them? We do have some plans for it, but, we kind of look at the land use, and we still rely upon people, that private landowners, to voluntarily do something. So we could say that you're in a high priority area based upon maps of how we could connect these areas, and maybe that person would get funding versus somebody who's not in a high priority area. So that's one way of doing it. Yep, it can be a little bit of both. A lot of times people just come to us with projects, but once we have a plan, then yes, we can say like this is a priority area and do a mailing and say, this is what we have available, but then they still have that option to say yes or no. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yes, a lot of people don't own big tracts of land. So, what can you do on your land? I mean, you're still a landowner. Even if you're not a landowner, there are still things you can do. I think I would tie it a lot back to our landscaping for clean water program. So, rain gardens are just native habitat, and reducing turf as well. Those can all have water quality benefits, and then they also have the habitat and wildlife benefits too. So, we could do a talk on that. But yeah, reduce turf and inputs, add some more native plants. They're fun too. So the catch basins in the metro area, are they our responsibility? Possibly. There's, our city partners are pretty vital too. So a city might have done a project on their own, or they might have partnered with us. But yes, if it's one of our projects, we're typically checking in on that project to make sure that it's maintained. And it could be a variety of people's. I will say we do have a website that has like all of our projects over the past about 10 years. So if you want to like go to a map and like click on projects, you can actually do that too. So we'll go way in the back. So the question is about kind of like construction oversight, basically, and working with contractors. When we design a project, we have we have our full design, and we have standards and specifications that we hand to contractors as well. So we always do a pre-construction meeting to lay out the expectations, and then we're on site to oversee construction too. Yep, the question is about forever chemicals, and is there a day when everybody needs some sort of treatment system? If you're on city water, your city's doing this for you. But if you're on a private well, it's your responsibility to know what's in your water. So the county does have a groundwater unit that is there to assist people. But yes, we are dealing with nitrates in groundwater currently. That's been around for a while, and forever chemicals are out there as well. Reverse osmosis, if you are on a private well, that's kind of the the standard to go to. But yes, it's something we are tracking and have been tracking, and it has serious implications for drinking water. Yeah, kind of two questions about resources in Rice County and then Halberg's Woods specifically. So Rice County does have a soil and water office as well, so people can go to their office for resources. They don't have a groundwater unit in Rice County, but there is public health staff, and the soil and water office can both kind of assist with those items. Halberg Woods specifically, I don't have too much information on. I mean, I know there's some talk there, but yeah, our role might just be kind of assessing what resources, natural resources are out there. Other questions? Okay. Yep. Yep, the question is about compliance with setbacks in particular. And yes, I mean, it's a hard thing. Like I said, we like to be the voluntary office, so when we all of a sudden have to put a regulatory hat on, it is a little tricky. We try and push that to our county partners to do more of the regulatory side so that we can stay voluntary. But yes, we are annually assessing who's in compliance and who's not, and then they get letters if they're not in compliance and have to work with the county on that. I'd say in our county, that's pretty minimal that we're doing any sort of regulatory action. Voluntary has been pretty high. Okay. Well, thank you all. Go keep our waters clean and soil healthy, right? And do what you can on your own parcel and just learning. Being here today, I think, is great to just learn about what our earth has to offer. So.
Thank you. Very good. Even the little kids know how to keep the earth clean, don't they?